Everyone says a narcissist is hard to spot. It is, and it isn't, if you know what to look for. I broke out of narcissistic jail 3 years ago when I left my ex-husband. I'll share some surprising things that I learned and the 3 things that I will never ever ignore again. Some of the things I heard growing up: quit being so sensitive. As an intuitive, empathic young person, I learned not to trust how I was feeling. I couldn't trust my own inner guidance because as a young person, I didn't know any better. I was an overachiever, strive to get good grades. I tried to do the best at everything I could in an attempt to earn my parents' love. It never worked. It was never enough. I learned how to stuff my emotions and feelings, to manage my environment so that I would not rock the boat, which, as we all know, that's called walking on eggshells, because you're trying to stay safe. You're trying to feel that if you just don't say certain things, that your parents won't get mad at you and then they will love you. So the young person starts to feel like they're unworthy of love. They start to feel rejection. They start to feel abandonment, that what they do is never enough. There was this unspoken rule that we don't talk about what's happening behind closed doors to project that image that we were such a happy family. So it's not a surprise that this early conditioning starts to feel normal. Because I wanted my person, I wanted love, I thought I was getting that with the person that I married, not realizing that because I hadn't done my own internal work, I was attracting what felt normal, which was what? More of those narcissistic traits. But here's the cool thing. There were some really important things that I needed to learn. The first thing I learned is I cannot fix or heal anybody else. All I could do was work on my own self. I also learned it's not my responsibility to take on anybody else's emotions. It wasn't my responsibility to constantly try to humor somebody out of a bad mood, because I didn't realize the impact that the energy had on me at the time. I started energetically, I felt heavy. I would feel very drained. I would feel very fatigued. What I learned is that no matter what I did, no matter what I said, it was never ever going to be enough. There is a Buddhist story that goes like this. There is a man that was very angry and yelling and screaming at the Buddha, and the Buddha remained very calm, very peaceful, was unaffected. And people would approach the Buddha and say, "Why aren't you reacting to this? Why aren't you expressing anger or outrage?" And the Buddha responded with, "If someone gives you a gift and you choose not to receive it, to whom does the gift belong?" I love that. That's what happens when people try to project their feelings onto you. You can choose whether to accept that and internalize that. And as a child, we don't know better. But as an adult, we have the opportunity and the personal responsibility to work through that. People who feel joy in their life, people who feel good in their lives, are not going to feel like they have to make other people feel bad. It's never about you. It's about how the other person is feeling if they're projecting a certain feeling onto you. Which brings me to 3 signs I will never, ever ignore again. But first, if you find this helpful, it would mean a lot to me if you would like and comment on this video. Let me know what your thoughts are. What are some tips that you have found useful? So let's talk about the signs. First, how does it feel? When I'm around a person, do I walk away feeling energized, or do I feel drained? Do I feel supported and heard, or do I feel like I'm having to always do the support and always having to be the one that is the cheerleader for the other person? This is talking about our energy. That gets back to the conditioning, the early conditioning of not being able to believe yourself or trust yourself, which can lead to self-doubt, feeling unworthy, feeling rejection, feeling abandonment, or feeling anxiety. Number 2, boundaries. How do people react when you start to have boundaries? When I start to say no, when I say, nope, I can't do that anymore, or I'm no longer going to be the person who's going to try to joke you out of your bad mood. How do they react? If they react in a normal manner and they are able to take personal responsibility or change the behavior, great. But if you are finding yourself having to adapt constantly, that's really telling. And third, watch the actions, not the words. Yes, there were red flags before I got married, and I just didn't know better. All the conditioning that I had received as a young teenager was how to please a man, how to dress for a man, how to say the right things to get your man. It wasn't anything about, is the other person being kind? Are they being consistent with their actions and their words? Or are they gaslighting, trying to tell you that what you heard isn't right, or what you know to be true is wrong? And we certainly never talked about boundaries. Dr. Ramani, in her book, It's Not You, Identifying and Healing from Narcissistic People, shares a rule of 3 that I really like. The first time something happens, it may be a blip. The second time something happens, it's a coincidence. But the third time the same thing happens, it's a pattern. Our souls are here to grow. We choose different people to be in our lives before we ever come here. I know I chose my parents. I know I chose my ex-husband, and they play their role beautifully because it gives me an opportunity to step into my power, to learn how to have boundaries, to learn how to trust myself. And that's how I know when personal healing starts to happen, is I'm able to reflect back and go, wow, I'm not the same person I was when I was a child, or wow, I would never ever be okay with someone saying those things to me, or being dishonest or disloyal in my life in personal close relationships ever again. That's showing soul's growth. So the people in our lives that show up and behave in these patterns that we don't like, it is a great opportunity for us to learn how to set healthy boundaries. People who have those traits of narcissism have their own inner wounds, whether they're unwilling or unable or not interested in healing, not interested in taking personal responsibility. We cannot fix or heal anybody else. What Spirit is always sharing with me is that I need to know what I want, know what I don't want, and have healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries are a filter system. It keeps out all the bad stuff. It allows all the good stuff in until I've learned the lesson. It keeps coming around and around and around again. So recently I started getting back into the dating world again. And the greatest gift I gave myself was to heal. Take the time to heal, get to know what I want. Again, when I came out of a narcissistic relationship, I didn't know who I was. And I'll share more of that in a future video. So I had a phone date. Immediately, within a minute, I got some red flags. And just like Dr. Ramani says, the first time it happens, it's a blip. I let the conversation continue. Then number 2 happened within the same phone call. I thought, okay, maybe this is just a coincidence. But the more that he was talking about his having to pay his alimony to his ex-wife and all the problems in his world, and this is called trauma dumping. Then there was a third time when it became, this is a pattern. This is somebody that definitely has some work to do, potential narcissist. And what's really cool is that the signs that happened in this phone call within a 30-minute window, the way that I would have responded prior to my marriage is very different. I knew I had done the work because I did not go on a date with this man. I did not go on a date with this man. I was recognizing the signs. So first time is a blip, the second time is a coincidence, and the third time is a pattern. If you found this helpful and healing, then want a quick way to bring your energy back into balance, check out this video here.